Om Apyayantu Mamangani Bhak Pranaschakshu Shrotramatha Balamindriyani Cha Sarvani Sarvang Brahmaupanishadam Mahang Brahma Nirakurya Mama Brahma Nirakarat Anirakaranamastu Anirakaranam Mestu Tadatmani Nirate Yah Upanishatsu Dharmaste Mai Santu Te Mai Santu Om Shanti 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 Om. May my limbs, speech, breath, eye, ear, strength and all senses become perfected. Everything is the Brahman proclaimed in the Upanishads. May I never deny Brahman. May Brahman never reject me. May there be no denial at all. May there be no denial at least from me. May I, who am devoted to the Atman, be endowed with all the virtues taught in the Upanishads. Om, peace, peace, peace. Good morning. Today is the part 4 of the series that we are discussing here, that inspiring relationship between Swami Vivekananda and his brother disciples. So, the chanting with which we just started our discussion, a beautiful piece of thought that I thought it is much. Huh?
Could you talk a little bit louder?
Oh, can you increase the volume of this? Yeah. Let us see. Thank you. This piece of this Shanti mantra that we just now chanted, I think it is a good one to begin with today's discussion. May I never deny Brahman, may Brahman never reject me, may there be no denial at all, may there be no denial at least from me. May I, whom I am devoted to the Atman, be endowed with all the virtues taught in the Upanishads. So a few days ago, during one of our classes, probably in Thursday class, we were reading from the reminiscences that was recorded by Swami Ashokanandaji, and with that connection from a different book, the discussion, we picked up the Swami Ashokanandaji was saying to a nun that we are unfortunate because the Lord is around us, very close to us, but we cannot see him. So here is the connection with denial. So here, again and again, maybe thousands of years ago, somebody, maybe a young brahmacharin or a monk, was praying to Brahman, to the supreme, that entity, supreme truth, that again and again there should be no denial from your side, from my side, at least not from my side. 3 times. So let us start with that connection. Today's discussion, we are thinking about the relationship between Swami Vivekananda and his brother disciples. Long ago, in 1886, in the bank of river Ganga, one building, one most dilapidated building, and the neighborhood people of the local area used to call it a haunted house. That's why they got it, that building, with minimum amount of rent. It belongs to that Munshis of Taki. Taki is a place. So they are some kind of landlords. In that, there is some description of that building. So let us, and we will concentrate our attention to a particular room of the building. The room they called that room as Danader Ghar, the room of giants. There we can see that some of their close, some reflection of their close bond, their love, their relationship, their companionship, their friendship. So they wrote, one of our prominent researcher of our history of Ramakrishna order, he wrote, "In a crumbling, ghostly house at Baranagar, a handful of fearless, idealistic young men once lived a life so pure and daring that their story has been revered as a classic chapter in the history of the Ramakrishna movement. In the midst of a sprawling courtyard, overgrown with shrubs and wild plants, stood the ruinous house, of which a part became their monastery. Today, the two surviving pillars at the entrance silently testify to the vanished building's existence." It is no more there. Only two pillars are standing. We have renovated a little bit of that. And in our museum, if you visit Belur Math Museum nowadays, you can see 35 books that were used by those monks in those days when they are in their 20s. Still gently whisper memories of their daily lives. The monastery occupied the inner part of the western wing of the Munshi's broken down house. Behind the house was a vegetable garden shaded by drumstick trees, a bell tree, several coconut, palms, and mango trees. There were also many banana plants and patches of giant taro, we called kochu, man kochu. In front of the ruined house lay a courtyard almost filled in by the soil turned up by foxes and rats. In some places, the earth rose more than waist high. Just trying to give some kind of visual. And inside, you see that the scenario, it is a kind of envelope. Sometimes we get money, check inside the envelope. So we are describing the envelope. The outer large hall had a broken wooden railing, and much of the floor's surface had come loose, with 2 to 3 inches of dust collecting in places. Parts of the ceiling beams had fallen away. Bamboo slates were wedged in to prevent the ceiling bricks from collapsing entirely. In the inner hall, toward the east, there were broken lattice windows, many of them missing their original delicate panes. So now, avoiding the further details, then you will find a large room. Again, that kind of concern. It was belonged to Kali, and they gave him a name, Kali Tapaswi. The ascetic, who is Kali the ascetic. A few steps up and then down again led to the storeroom of the worship articles, through which one would pass to reach the shrine room. Going straight through the hall led to the kitchen. To the left was a long hall known as Room of Danas. Dana who knows little bit of that Hindi or Bengali, Dana Dotti, Daitya. So Dana, Daitya, it's the same kind of, so giants, demons, they realized about themselves. They are not ordinary mortals, at least in those days. So they gave the name Danader Ghar, room of giants. So it goes on. In the history of Ramakrishna movement, there is a book written by Swami Vivekananda. So he wrote some lines on that particular, their mental condition. He wrote, the monastery was there, and the zeal of the monks were ever waxing. Perhaps that was the only thing that sustained them in those days. No food, only zeal. For otherwise we cannot explain the unthinkable hardships that they willingly faced in their pursuit of God realization. Gambhiranandaji was a great monk, so I think he felt that rhythm of their heart. So, but he was not writing a novel or essay. It was a research book, more like a collection of information. So he restrained his language, but we can feel through it what he wanted to say. Many of them had the promise of a comfortable life at home, and all could count on at least a moderate future income. Yet the call of the beyond made the pursuit of worldly enjoyment seem empty. They loved God, and as God and Mammon could not be worshipped at the same time, they preferred the path of God, although it would be waking on a razor's edge. Let us, for a while, look more closely at the activities of the life they led. Then he picked up some lines from the lives of Swami Vivekananda. Again, it was who wrote that, who was behind that book. All those people who are very closely to Swami Vivekananda, Swami Virajananda, Captain and Mrs. Xavier, those people, in early days of Mayavati, they saw. So they wrote, unwilling to beg, they lived on what chance would bring. They vied with one another in doing the 1,000 household tasks, even the most menial ones. Many were the days when there were nothing to eat, but the spiritual discourses, meditation, and singing went on as though their bodies did not exist. Then goes on. And from the stray remarks preserved in books or orally communicated, we get glimpses of the mental condition of the inmates individually and collectively. Sometimes you put page mark here and there, and from those some papers, the future generation got from that when turning those pages, they found some of the like bookmarks kind of thing, loose papers. From there, you could understand that their mental, their spirit. Often enough, they performed, and sometimes they used to read something to inspire self-motivation. Sometimes our students, they write in a small piece of papers, and they stick it in wall, here and there, to remind themselves why we are here. So those are our source of information. Often enough, they perform day-long meditation at Dakshineshwar or night-long vigil and prayer at the Kashipur cremation ground, both the places connected with their master, Sri Ramakrishna. Not satisfied with mere struggle, somebody complained that their renunciation had been in vain, inasmuch as they had not seen God, to which Narendra sharply replied, must we make a compromise with the world because we have not attained God? In other words, even if God did not deign to show himself, it behoved his devotees to be unremitting in their efforts to the exclusion of other thoughts. Sri Ramakrishna Lilamrita, maybe that book, name of the book, written by Vaikuntanath Sannal, another devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. He wrote in this book that actually he is the leader, Narendranath leader. Sometimes, and he told that a monastery is not made by grand mansions, nor by wealth and opulence. Wherever the life of a renunciate, steeped in dispassion and devoted to austerity, finds expression, there exists alone the true monastery. And that were the words of Narendranath. When he returned from the West in 1897, the disciple, one of Swami Vivekananda's disciple, asked about him, about those days. He asked, how did you maintain yourselves at that time? With the memory of those glorious days fitting across his mind, he replied, what a silly question. We were sannyasins, don't you see? We never thought of the morrow. We used to live on what chance brought. There were days at the Baranagar Math when we had nothing to eat. If there was rice, salt was lacking. Leaves of bimba creeper boiled, salt and rice. This was our menu for months. We were being carried along on a strong tide of meditation and other religious practices. Oh, what days! Demons would have run away at the sight of such austerities, to say nothing of men. I think it was a haunted house. Seeing them, they left the house. So not only about your not only about only that austerities. Sri Ramakrishna's life, if you see, you will see two things. One is that majestic dispassion, and other side was love, infinite love. So all of his disciples, they imbibed that spirit. One side this kind of thing, and one side was perfect love, that tangible love. And probably you may remember in our last discussion, many of the regular disciples, household disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, they would visit that monastery. Suren Mitra, he gave the money. One beautiful incident you may remember, sometimes used to visit that monastery. A few of the women devotees, like Gopalerma, and for that connection, we pointed out a beautiful understanding, a idea. Even we talk about we have a lot of struggle in our life, a lot of suffering, a lot of struggle. Even so, it is quite natural. So solution also is there. How Gopalerma, Gopalerma, remember that story? The ardent devotee of Gopala Krishna, he would see, and of a great spiritual caliber, Sri Ramakrishna used to respect him as mother. Even she had problem, mental agony. So what was the solution? Time to time, she used to visit the monastery. Remember in last day? And what she used to do? Seeing him, the monks, like his grandchildren. So today, you please cook something for us. And she would spend some time with these young monks, and after that, getting a lot of joy, she used to return to her place. So we can see that time to time, their other disciples, regular disciples, household disciples of Sri Ramakrishna also used to visit that monastery, and sometimes they used to live there for days. The Baranagar monastery, where Sri Ramakrishna's disciples first gathered was not built merely on intellectual allegiance to his ideals. It was equally, if not more, rooted in their deep love for Sri Ramakrishna and for one another. This love was so pure, free from expectation, and unshakable, a bond so strong that the monks seemed like one body and one mind. Mahendranath Datta, Swami Vivekananda's younger brother, once wrote about this. So we have to think about, to give you little more detail, he was almost 5 years younger than Swami Vivekananda. So whenever, now and then, we'll use his reminiscences, his whatever information he provided in his book. But we have to keep in mind, he was only in his teenage. But his information are quite important for to get the history of these early days. So he wrote, I have never seen such profound love. If you pinched one of them, another would exclaim in pain. The lives of these monks reveal that the foundation of their unity was Sri Ramakrishna's boundless love, which each of them felt was uniquely theirs. Every monk believed they were especially cherished by him. Latu Maharaj, Swami Adbhutananda, he wrote, he once shared an amusing, entertaining memory. We always used to talk about Thakur's love, Sri Ramakrishna's love, when they used to spend time in the monastery, especially that Danader Ghar, room of the giants. One would claim, Thakur loved me the most. Sri Ramakrishna loved me most. So another would immediately counter, no, he loved me more. This would go on until it turned into a lively debate. So these were the spice of life, you know. So they intentionally they used to create some kind of fight among them. And Latu Maharaj, with a strange his temperament, so he noticed all those things, and in his own language. So okay, so this would go on until it turned into a lively debate. Watching this one day, I remarked, he didn't have anything behind. He didn't leave anything behind, and you are already arguing. If he had left something, you would probably have taken your fight to court. Everyone burst into laughter at that. Latu Maharaj, we will discuss after one by one. After finishing a few things about this monastery, we'll enter with the relationship with Raja Maharaj, Swami Brahmananda. Then that is my plan. Just as Sri Ramakrishna's love was infinite, the love Swami Vivekananda had for his brother disciples were equally remarkable. It created a magical bond, making the monks naturally look up to him as their guide and source of comfort. Kali Prasad, later Swami Abhedananda, once admitted, in truth, Narendranath was our constant source of hope, trust, and solace. So, leader must have two qualities. In Bengali, we call tatano and matano. Means you have to inspire those people and you have to energize those people. So Swamiji's presence was like that. New kinds of new project he used to invent with his genius, mind. And so the brothers also loved him for that. This invincible love of Sri Ramakrishna and the visible affection among the monks nurtured a deeply united brotherhood in the monastery. It is love that gave strength and life. Whenever one of their brothers fell ill, others would set aside their spiritual practices or wanderings to rush to his side, offering care and service. This is the uniqueness you can see when you read their biographies, uniqueness. they are doing their tapas in the Himalayas. Whenever they got news, somebody, Yogananda or anybody, Vedananda, is sick, they leaving their tapasya, they would return to the monastery to serve them, and wherever they were staying. And later you can see our old Swami, that Advaitananda, we heard something, he is suffering, please take care, writing letter to Pramodadas Mitra. He is now Benaras, please send somebody to take care of him. That kind of, you can see. This bond was evident in their daily lives, where one monk would take a bucket from another to fetch water or compete over who would clean the restroom. If someone received something good through begging, they would first offer it to the Lord and then share it with everyone. Another clue. Baburam, later Swami Premananda, once wrote in a letter, at the Boranagar monastery, we only saw each other's virtues. Important. To make a bond, what is the way? This is a clue. To see only the good side of the people, what I can learn from him. Something in our any organization, in organization, this is one of the key of success. We have to appreciate others' virtues, good qualities. Sri Sharada Devi also said, this order was built on love. Swami Premananda often remarked, another name of love is the Ramakrishna mission. He wrote in future to inspire the new generation of monks. This love was not just an abstract feeling. It was a living force in their lives. Latu Maharaj shared, whenever people live together in groups, conflicts usually arise. But in our monastery, there was no bitterness. We spoke our minds, and any disagreement was resolved instantly. Mahendra Datta also wrote, it was a living love, tangible and visible in every action at the Baranagar monastery. Sister Nivedita, when she came in contact with Swami Vivekananda, Swamiji used to train her. And because Sister Nivedita had an important role to bring out a organization that will take care of the women's of India. And from that organization, afterwards we can see that Sarada Math came out, the convent. So he once told Sister Nivedita, explained to Sister Nivedita, even if I were to become a sinner or immoral, my disciples might reject me, but my brother monks would still see me as the same Noren. When such love exists, a new religion is born. That is important. Unconditional love. Whenever you see unconditional love, the new religion is born. So from here we can understand that always we always love to connect with the disciples of Buddha or Jesus. Must be there was same kind of love among them also. Not only the devotees of Ramakrishna circle, but also other seekers of truth would visit the monastery to engage in spiritual discussions. Whenever Narendranath, Kaliprasad and Hori were present, the monastery would become alive with scriptural debates and philosophical discussions. Kaliprasad wrote, when devotees came from Kolkata and other places in the evening or at night, I would converse with them. Sometimes we would read and discuss the scriptures together. We can get one instance that where in Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, you can see it is 1887, May 8. M was visiting the monastery. Thus Rakhal told to M, Come, let us go to the big hall. A few gentlemen have come from Boranagar. Narendranath is speaking to them. Let's go and listen. In Latu's word, Narendranath would fire up the discussions with his fervent discourse, his own language. When Sharat Chandra Gupta, later Swami Sadananda, the first monastic disciple of Swami Vivekananda, who was a station master, you may remember, in UP, Uttar Pradesh. So when he entered in the monastery, he noticed that even in the absence of visitors, profound discussions took place among the monks. These sessions would be held in the Danas room, on the rooftop, or even in the dining area, wherever space allowed. And another thing was also take root in this. We can see a idea of service. It also entered in that that life of the monastics. Pramodanath Bose, one of the biographer of Swami Vivekananda, he wrote, another vital element began to take root at that time, that is seva dharma, service, the ideal of selfless service. These monks would feed the hungry and the poor even at the cost of their own meals. They would also devote themselves wholeheartedly to caring for their household disciples in times of illness or distress. Some among them even served leprosy patients without hesitation. Another kind of activity you can see in those days. You may remember Holy Mother's the youngest brother, Abhay Charan. In his last days in Kolkata, it is only monks of Ramakrishna they went to serve him. Again, 3 instances we got that when a man at Narendranath's home fell severely ill with smallpox, Swami Sharadananda went and nursed him. During Balaram Bose's last illness, the monastic brothers took care of him, just as they had cared for Ramchandra Datta's little daughter when she suffered severe burns. So those instances we can say they are not only engaged in scriptural study or their austerities. They also they engage themselves in the selfless service. From the Dakshineshwar phase to the Kashipur phase, the role of Sri Ramakrishna was paramount. However, from Varanagar to Belur and beyond, the responsibility primarily rested on Narendranath and his dedicated monastic brothers. Narendranath, the sage of the undivided divine realm, was the chosen leader of Sri Ramakrishna. He was truly unparalleled. Kali Prasad wrote, remembering the instructions of Sri Ramakrishna, we all accepted Narendranath as our leader and followed his guidance. Sister Nivedita, being a disciple of Swami Vivekananda, she noticed something important. And she admitted it is not only Swami Vivekananda, the role of other the disciples are equally important. So she wrote that meaningless as would have been the order of Ramakrishna without Vivekananda, even so futile would have been the life and labors of Vivekananda without him, his brothers of the order of Ramakrishna. So she wrote that part. Swami Sadananda, we talked little about Swami Sadananda. He gave some instances, shared some instances from that Boranagar monastery. He wrote, during these days, these years, Swamiji would work 24 hours at a time. He was like a lunatic in his activity early in the morning. Whilst it was still dark, he would rise and call the others, singing, awake, arise, all ye who would drink of the divine nectar. And long after midnight, he and other monks would still be sitting on the roof of the monastery, singing canticles of praise. The neighbors expostulated, but no avail. What are you doing at night? we have to sleep. And the musical voice of Swamiji would lead the chanting of the names of Sita Ram or of Radha Krishna. Those were strenuous days. There was no time for rest. Outsiders came and went. Pandits argued and discussed, but he, the Swami, was never for one moment idle, never dull. About their studies. In the Bonanagar monastery, hours would be consumed in the study of philosophy. The theories of Kant, Hegel, Mill, and Spencer were discussed by the devotees. Even the atheists and materialists received their share of attention. Besides philosophy, religion, theology, history, sociology, literature, art, and science were touched upon. If the talk was whether God existed or not, Naren would prove with the backing of logic and reason that God was a myth. Again, he would be equally convincing in his argument that God was the only reality in the universe. That was Swamiji. The Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Mimamsa, and Vedanta, everyone in its turn was matched against the others, and their points of agreement and difference were brought out with rigorous analytical acumen. The Vedanta was compared with the Buddhistic philosophy and vice versa. Often, he would develop the most original lines of thought, illustrative of the historical import of Sri Ramakrishna's life and teaching and their influence upon the present generations of Hindus. So placing Sri Ramakrishna in contrast of the history, why he came here, what is the import of his advent. And they wrote beautifully, Narendra's voice was the delight of the monks. Whenever they would hear, Naren is here, because in those days we have to remember, he had to look after in his family matters also. After passing away of his father, Vishwanath Datta, his close relatives filed cases against lawsuits against them. So he had to handle all those things also. So whenever they would found, oh, Narendra, he returned from his home, they would become joyful. So they wrote, Narendra's voice was the delight of the monks. It made them, and his singing, it made them recall the master's words spoken several years before, as the snake remains spellbound with its hood upon hearing the sweet music of the flute, so does he who is in the heart, the Antaryami, when Naren sings. So Narendra was always like that. From his childhood, the friends, whenever they wrote something on Naren, Swami Vivekananda, we can see he was already a hero from his childhood days. Narendranath Mukhopadhyay, he wrote, he is an ocean of knowledge and qualities. Even at that time, all the boys, though of the same age, treated him with respect and reverence, as if he were a recognized leader. Because Swamiji passed away so early, so they were missing him, his childhood friends. Another friend, Kedarnath Bandyopadhyay, afterwards he became a prominent leader of the Bengali Literary Society. He wrote that, though of the same age, I had never seen a boy like him, fearless and speaking with the wisdom of a learned scholar. This boy does not need to look to anyone for approval to speak. He was born to be a leader. This boy is born to be a commander-in-chief, not a soldier. Such a gem will never be found again. In knowledge, intellect, appearance, virtues, eloquence, energy, self-reliance, and courage, who among the educated Bengalis can match Vivekananda? And who could ever be like him? One remembers his strong, well-built and robust physique. One remembers his sweet and melodious voice like the song of a quail. One remembers his self-esteem, his sense of dignity, the brilliance of his wisdom, and also that irresistible, charming ability to make everything possible, that simplicity, and his love for spiritual practice. Probably you have noticed that line. He told, and also that irresistible, charming ability to make everything possible. So many times we think, we plan, but we hardly give it a shape in practical life. We are full of failure, failed plans. But with Noren, never we never seen that. Whatever he planned, he did that. That was the most of his charming qualities, one of the most charming qualities. So, as now let us go little back, because when he met with Swami Brahmananda, Rakhal, it was before Noren met with Sri Ramakrishna. Interesting thing. They knew each other before Narendranath knew Sri Ramakrishna. So they are childhood friends. Swami Brahmananda was, if you talk about data, he was just 9 days younger than Swami Vivekananda. Both was born in 1863. Swami Vivekananda 12 January, and probably Swami Brahmananda 21st of January. So his father, Swami Brahmananda's father, was a landlord in a village called Shikra near Barasat, not far from Kolkata. If you want to visit that place, it will take, I think, little more than 1 hour. So he was a son of a jamindar. After finishing the studies in their village, his father wanted to send him to Kolkata for further studies. So, in 1875, when he was 12 years old, Swami Brahmananda was sent to Kolkata. And he lost his mother when he was quite young. And so his father married again, and Rakhal was accommodated in Kolkata at the home of his father's father-in-law. And in those days it was quite normal. Shamlal Sen, and that house was located at North Calcutta. He was enrolled in the training academy, a school nearby, but as he was always grown up in the open countryside, he feels something that confined in those 4 walls of the school. So, instead of the closed classroom environment, he was naturally drawn to the school's gymnasium. It was here that he first met with young Narendra, whose commanding presence and melodious voice instantly captivated him. But there is another source of information, that is Swami Shuddhananda. He mentioned they met in another friend's house, so called a certain name called Hemali. So anyhow, they met either in their friend's house or in the gymnasium. Narendra's commanding presence and melodious voice instantly captivated Brahmananda. Though Narendra was only 9 days older than Rakhal, Rakhal was the pre-monastic name of Swami Brahmananda. His bold and radiant personality stood out. Despite their contrasting temperaments, Narendra being assertive and candid, while Rakhal was serene and composed. The two were drawn together in a deep and natural bond, as if divinely ordained. It seemed as though two eternal companions of the divine incarnation had instinctively recognized each other, forming a lifelong spiritual kinship. At that time, something was going on in Calcutta, that is Brahma movement. Inspired by the eloquence and charisma of Keshav Chandra Sen. Many idealistic young men were eager to join the movement, and Narendra, guided by his innate spiritual inclination, became a regular visitor to the Brahmo Samaj. Drawn by both his own religious fervor and the enthusiasm of his dear friend, Rakhal too became interested in the movement. And probably after in around maybe 1881, both Narendra and Rakhal formally signed the Brahmo Samaj pledge, committing themselves to the exclusive worship of the formless absolute Brahman. They earnestly tried to uphold this vow. However, afterwards we'll see something happened in presence of Sri Ramakrishna, and some problem that was settled by Sri Ramakrishna himself. So here again we can take help of Mahendranath Datta a little bit to understand their natural bond. They are young boys, so their companion in play, in singing, in wrestling, and sometimes in they are mischievous also. They were. So Mahendranath Datta, he wrote, he gave another connection, how they became close. So when Ananda Mohan, the father of Swami Brahmananda, found that his son is not paying much importance in studies, rather he is visiting the sessions of Brahmo Samaj. And he already noticed in the village itself some kind of inwardness he found in young Rakhal. Sometimes sitting alone in the bank of a pond or in a temple somewhere. So now again he found, I sent him to the Kolkata for the further studies, and here also he started going to that Brahmo Samaj, attending spiritual discussion. So what is the solution? In those days, again Indian context, that find a good girl, bride, and give engage him, and that is the only solution. So he found, looking for a good boy, good girl. Now there was another person called Monomohan Mitra. Monomohan Mitra also was a disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, a regular disciple. So as Ananda Mohan's father-in-law Shamlal was there in Kolkata, he told that please look for a good girl there. And there was the sister of Monomohan Mitra, Vishweshwari. So now Mahendranath Datta wrote, the marriage was arranged with Bhuvan Mohan Mitra's daughter, Vishweshwari. Bhuvan Mohan was the father of Manmohan Mitra. At the time, Dr. Mitra had already passed away. The wedding invitation was extended to our family, as we had close ties with Monomohan Mitra. So you understand now? So Monomohan Mitra's sister is Vishweshwari. Now Monomohan Mitra, also a relative of Ramchandra Datta, another disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. So Narendranath Datta's family, so two families are there. Narendranath Datta's family, they are close relative of Ramchandra Datta. Actually, Ramchandra Datta, from his childhood, he stayed with this family of Vishwanath Datta's. So now here is another connection with Noren and Rakhal. So Ramchandra Datta, he is connected with Narendranath, and here Manomohan Mitra, they are also connected with that Rakhal. So what happened? The wedding. That's why Mahendranath wrote that wedding invitation was extended to our family, as we had close ties with Manomohan Mitra, who was related to my elder brother Ram Dada. Since Ram Dada was brought up in our house, we shared a bond like that of siblings, making us feel like one extended family. After his marriage, Rakhal moved to Shimla to continue his studies. He stayed at Manomohan Mitra's residence, where he ate and slept. That was the plan. Young boy, and it was a child marriage kind of thing in those days. Still, he had to continue his studies. So he shifted his residence from the earlier place in Calcutta to the Shimla. Shimla means the locality where Swami Vivekananda's ancestral house you can find. So, they are of same age, what was the plan? Only the night for sleeping and for eating he would visit. He used to go to his own place, and the time he used to stay with this Swamiji's, all those brothers, Mahendranath, Bhupendranath. You need friend, no? However, as time passed, he became even more integrated into Mahendranath's household, spending most of his time studying in their home. Eventually, he stopped sleeping at the Mitra household altogether, growing ever closer to his new companions. From a young age, now Mahendranath noticed, though he was also a kid, but he noticed something special in Rakhal. From a young age, Rakhal exhibited exceptional presence of mind and the ability to assess situations accurately. This trait remained with him throughout his life, later manifesting in its highest form when he became the president of a spiritual order, Ramakrishna order. His keen observation and meticulous attainment to detail made him successful in all his endeavors. Even as a child, Rakhal would sometimes fall into deep states of stillness and silence, as if lost in another realm. Though he would laugh and play with friends, there were moments when he would suddenly withdraw, appearing completely absorbed elsewhere. After some time, he would return to his playful self. Unaware of his own spontaneous meditative states, at that time, neither he nor his friends realized that these were signs of an inborn spiritual disposition which would later blossom into divine realization. And also he noticed that Rakhal was a cheerful and witty boy. He enjoyed playful mischief but never quarreled with anyone. This is one of the characteristics. We may discuss afterwards when he was visiting Dakshineshwar. So I was trying to find out where exactly it is. So Sri Ramakrishna was sitting, and this young Rakhal, what he was doing, everyone was listening to Sri Ramakrishna. And Rakhal, somewhere, he collect one scissor. And one devotee absorbed in the conversation with Sri Ramakrishna. He was cutting that in that shawl, have you noticed, Indian kind of shawl, the edge of the shawl, sometimes you find some decorations with extended threads, some kind of design. And he was trying to cut one. So Sri Ramakrishna scolded, "What are you doing? It looks beautiful." Again he stopped. So this kind of, he was, little bit of playfulness was there. He got along with all, regardless of their nature, and was dearly loved by everyone in the neighborhood. So he shared another kind of story. It shows the contrast among the temperament, the characteristic of Narendranath and Rakhal. So one day, They were good gymnasts. We always we have to remember. So one night in our home, Mohendra wrote that Noren and Rakhal were lying side by side at night. It was late at night. After a while, a debate arose between them. Sometimes these youngsters, if you allow them to stay in a room, the whole night they can talk. So they have new plans, so they are talking. Rakhal claimed that since Noren had not practiced gymnastics for a long time, he could no longer perform the peacock march or walk upside down. You cannot do that. For many days, you never visited the akhada, our gym, so you cannot do that. So, as the argument heated up, they decided to place a 1 rupee bet. In the middle of the night, both got up and began their gymnastics on the front veranda. Noren, tying up his clothes tightly, started walking on his hands with his feet in the air, while Rakhal followed closely. And Mohendranath noticed that. Those sleeping in the adjacent room were woken up by the noise. Irritated, they scolded, "What a ruckus! These boys have lost their minds, getting up at midnight to do gymnastics. Have they no sense that people are sleeping?" So Mohendranath kept that scene in his mind. Now he commented, "Their complaint was not wrong. Narendranath had always seen the world from an upside-down perspective. He never walked with his feet, but rather with his hands, shaking up the slumbering world, and the ever-loyal Rakhal followed him through life like a devoted companion." In this seemingly trivial incident, we catch a glimpse of their deeper nature and strength. The same spirit that drove this playful bet was reflected in countless other events of their lives. The essence remained unchanged, only its expression varied across different situations. Rakhal always seemed to seek refuge behind someone else, while Narendra boldly strode ahead, engaging in debates and confrontations. Rakhal preferred to stay in the background, offering quiet suggestions. This was the most striking difference between them. The contrast that existed in their childhood continued to shape their entire life, and the world, too, accepted them in exactly that way. What is truly remarkable is that the bond they shared in their early years remained unchanged until the very end of their lives. Though Rakhal mingled with everyone in the neighborhood, it was evident that he had a special attachment to Narendranath. Whether it was wrestling, playful banter, cooking, playing, or simply wandering about, Rakhal always followed in Narendranath's footsteps. He never contradicted Narendranath's words, but remained a devoted admirer, full of admiration and loyalty. One was the vanguard, leading the way, and the other was rear guard, offering quiet support from behind. Neither could truly exist without the other. They are inseparable, complementing each other in every way. That was Mohendranath's word. And we will see. But it happened like that, that it was Rakhal Chandra who went to see Ramakrishna first. We'll discuss in our next lecture. Om Niranjanam Nityam Anantarupam Bhaktanukampa Dhritavigraham Vai Ishavatarang Parameshamidyam Tang Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namama. Salutation to Sri Ramakrishna, the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, who is worshipped by all and the perfect embodiment of the eternal truth, manifesting in various forms to guide and help mankind. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.